Ladies and gents, welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about if the MacBook Air 2018/2019 is a good value here in 2024, almost 6 years after its release. Starting off with probably the best feature of this MacBook is the gorgeous display. As you can see here, I forget which wallpaper this is, but macOS Sonoma has some fantastic wallpapers and the lock screen really shows them off as it scrolls through, and I'd imagine this was shot with some sort of drone, maybe a helicopter, but you can see we're flying through these gorgeous mountains here. Looks like somewhere in the tropical part of the world. All right, so the display, it is a 13.3-inch Retina display, and it is awesome. It's probably the best feature of this MacBook, and it looks amazing. It is the same display that you will find on the M1 MacBook Air, and the 2019 MacBook Air actually has True Tone display. The 2018 does not. So if we head into settings and we scroll down to display, the 2019 MacBook Air is going to have the option to turn on and turn off True Tone display. 2018 does not have that, and if you've never had True Tone display, well, then I'd recommend finding a 2018 because you're not going to notice a difference. But if you have experienced the True Tone display, whether that's on your iPhone or another MacBook, then the 2019 is going to be a better choice because you're going to really miss it, I think. Another subtle difference between the 2018 and 2019 is going to be the keyboard. So the butterfly keyboard here is not a fan favorite, but if you can find one in good condition, and usually that means finding one with low battery cycles, which you can check inside of the system information here. If you go to the power tab, you can see this one has 386. That's pretty low given this computer's age. And typically the lower the battery cycles, the better condition the keyboard's in. Back to what I was saying, the 2019 has a slight refresh on this keyboard. So it is technically a little bit better than the 2018. So that's something to keep in mind. What else is this computer good at? Well, it's got a amazing trackpad. It's really large, and it's of course force touch, which means you can press anywhere on it and have the same feedback. Trackpad is great. The keyboard I think is fine. I don't mind the butterfly keyboards, but you have to keep them clean. You can't eat while you're using your computer. You have to keep them in a very clean environment. Just don't be messy and you won't have any problems. Now, I do think this MacBook Air does suffer from the dust gate situation. I know MacBook Pros are affected by that. The 2016 through 2019 13 inches have it the worst. I'm not 100% sure on the MacBook Air, but basically what happens is dust gets down in between here, and the ribbon cable that connects the display to the logic board actually wears out over time, and that's going to prevent the image from being transmitted correctly from the computer onto the display. Something else to keep in mind. The speakers on here are very nice. You can see that we have speaker grills on either side of the keyboard, and they sound amazing for a laptop that is this thin and light, which is another great feature of this MacBook Air, is how light this computer is. You can see mine does have a little damage there, but apart from that, it's in very nice condition. I think this computer weighs just under 3 pounds or just over 3 pounds. I can't remember exactly. We have two Thunderbolt 3 ports here, used for charging, connecting peripherals. This is going to be your best friend. Plug that in there. Then you've got your old style USB. But 2 ports is a little limiting, especially if you're connected to power and an external monitor. Then you're out of luck. You're going to have to find an adapter to get some more ports. We've got our headphone jack over here on the right side. And overall, it's a very clean design. This is the space gray model. This computer was also sold in silver and gold. I don't think it was sold in rose gold, but those 3 colors are more than most laptops have to offer. Now let's talk about the bad things with this MacBook Air. Starting off with performance. Here we have a 1.6 gigahertz dual-core i5, Intel UHD graphics, 617, and 8 gigabytes of LPDDR3 memory. Now, these specs in and of themselves are not bad. This computer should be pretty capable at doing everyday tasks. However, it is not cooled properly. And I'm going to show you what I mean. So if we do a quick Google search here for some inside photos of this MacBook Air, this one should be fine. Let me zoom in there. It's a little bit blurry, but I think you're going to be able to get the idea. So you can see this is the logic board up here at the top. We've got the battery, trackpad, and our cooling fan. Now, the problem is that the CPU GPU is right here underneath this little heatsink. This heatsink is not connected to a heat pipe by the fan. So this fan is going to blow air, but that air is really not going to cool the CPU and GPU. What happens is the air comes in over here and gets kind of passively pulled this way, slowly, ever so slightly cooling that CPU and then getting pushed out. This is a huge problem because doing basically anything intensive on this MacBook Air is going to result in not only a really loud fan, but a hot system, because the loud fan is not actually doing much at all. It probably will increase performance by maybe 5%, but not more than that. So that's going to result in some really bad performance once you push this thing beyond doing just very basic tasks, which is our next topic. What are you going to buy this MacBook Air for? Well, what's it good at? It's good at browsing the web. However, I think if you step outside of Safari and start using Google Chrome or Firefox, you're going to run into some performance issues, because I know those are a little more demanding on the computer. This device is also great for sending and receiving emails. Very simple task, and this computer will do that just fine. Browsing your photo library should be just fine. However, if you're going to be importing and exporting and editing a lot of photos, you're going to run into some performance issues. This computer is also going to be great for typing documents on Pages, Microsoft Word, doing PowerPoint, Excel, all that sort of stuff. Again, nothing too demanding. Now, where are you going to have problems? Well, if you try to edit photos or videos, you're going to run into some issues. This device cannot maintain any sort of impressive performance for more than maybe 30 seconds to a minute before that CPU reaches 100 degrees Celsius, 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and begins to throttle itself back. So if you're editing a video that's more than like 10 seconds long, you're going to have some problems with this thing. So how much did I pay for this MacBook? Well, I can't remember, but I'm going to put that number right there. It was pretty cheap. If you can find one for that price, I'd say get it, regardless of the specs. Now, this computer, I believe, could be configured to 16 gigabytes of memory and up to 1.5 terabytes on the 2018 and 1 terabyte on the 2019. Now, I don't think you should spend more money on upgrading the RAM, because let's be honest, you should not be using this MacBook for anything performance intensive, but I can see an argument to upgrade the storage, because if you're using photos or you have a bunch of files on here, I think that would be fine. I would not spend more than like $300 or $400 on one of these. If this thing has high battery cycles, well, I think there's a really good chance the keyboard is going to have some problems sooner or later. Battery life on this device is, I would say, average at best. Here we have the M1 MacBook Air, and that gets 18 hours. I think this device would be lucky to get 10 hours if you're not doing much on it. I would highly recommend you try to find an M1 MacBook Air or a 2020 MacBook Pro Intel model if you're looking for something a little bit cheaper. Those devices are significantly better than this MacBook Air in terms of performance and capabilities. And they're going to get updates a lot longer, so I think this is probably the end of the road for the 2018 MacBook Air. It's running macOS Sonoma, and I will be pretty surprised if we get macOS 15.0 here later in 2024. That said, once this computer loses support, the prices are going to go down quite significantly. That seems to be a trend. So, for example, if you look at a 2017 MacBook Air, which dropped support on macOS Monterey, those are significantly cheaper. And honestly, they might actually be a little more powerful because they have an adequate cooling system. So if you're looking for a MacBook in the $300 to $400 range, I would say look for a 2015 13 or 15 inch, or look for a 2020, maybe a 2019 MacBook Pro 13 inch. Those are some good values for that. I really can't recommend this device unless you just absolutely need a Retina display, absolutely need macOS Sonoma, and do not need any sort of performance at all. Then this is going to be the one for you. All right, I think that's going to do it for this video. I hope it was helpful. I hope you learned a little bit. And if you're looking to buy one of these, make sure you get one for a good price and make sure it's in really nice condition with low battery cycles and a good keyboard. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in another one of my videos.